My name is Haley Gant. I am one of our certified IRA specialists here at Quest, and I am also actually teaching today's class. So I am really excited to give this presentation for you guys. It is actually a new PowerPoint that I put together for an outside presentation. Kaylee McMahon, actually, shout out to her. I gave this presentation once on her event and it went really well. So I wanted to bring it back on our platforms and really just cover some basics and some kind of helpful tips and tricks and an overview of the process of how to smoothly raise private capital from other people's IRAs. So I am super excited to be teaching this class today. For those of you guys who don't know me, again, my name is Haley Gant. I'm one of our IRA specialists, and I've been with Quest for actually almost 5 years now. So kind of fresh out of college, joined Quest. And in that time, I've lived in Houston. I ran our Dallas office for a bit. And now, as of a couple of years ago, I am back down in Houston and kind of lead our business development now. So all of our events that we put on, all of our guest speakers that we bring in, the events that we attend outside of our own webinars, I help to put a lot of that together. So I really enjoy working with all of our clients, and I really personally enjoy teaching about all of these different topics. And raising private capital is a really great way to get funding for your deals, whether you are looking for private lending, maybe for your single family fix and flips, or maybe if you're looking to do some larger scale deals, maybe some apartment syndications, maybe some commercial deals. There's a lot of investors out there that raise their capital from other people's IRA accounts. Now, it can be a little daunting if you don't know how the process works, but hopefully after today's class, you'll have a good idea of what's involved in the roles in the scenario. You as the investor raising private capital, there's definitely some things that you want to be aware of, some things you want to make sure you're doing or maybe not doing. Now, of course, I can't give you investment advice, but hopefully after today, this does help you guys to have a good overview of how this process works. And if you still have questions at the end of the presentation, we will be doing some Q&A, but also don't hesitate to reach out to one of our IRA specialists directly. Our job is to basically help you guys understand how this whole process works. We'll hold your hand through the process and educate you about, the kind of the rules, the regulations, the process, the documents, what we need to fund deals. So we have a lot of resources for you, but let's go ahead and get right into the presentation. So we'll start out with a quick little bit of basics. Who is Quest Trust? If you guys have been watching our webinars, you're probably very familiar with us and the education that we put on for investors from across the US. But if you're new to our webinars, or maybe you're new to real estate investing and really just kind of looking to get your feet wet right now, Quest is a self-directed IRA custodian. We are based out of Houston, Texas, but we do operate in all 50 states, and we have clients all across the nation. About half of our clients are in Texas, but the other half are all throughout the country. And, IRAs, the rules, it's kind of on a national level. So, we do access all of those 50 states. We have about $2 billion in assets under management, and all of that 2 billion in assets is all alternative assets held in our clients' IRA accounts. Assets that they actually went out, did the networking, found the investment, found maybe someone to passively invest with. So we do this all day, every day. We fund actually about 400 transactions a month. So we do see a lot of deals go through our clients' accounts. So we're always here to help if you do have questions. Now, super important in this presentation, as well as every presentation that we give with Quest, this is strictly for educational purposes only. I am not telling you how to structure your deals. I am not your attorney. I am not your CPA, and neither is anyone else at Quest. So it is so important to always make sure that you're doing your own due diligence before you enter into investments. Don't rush into deals. Do your research on people that you're working with. Just because you meet someone at a Quest event or you learn about a strategy from someone online, you want to make sure that you do your due diligence to make sure that it aligns with the path that you're looking to go down with your investments. So pretty standard disclaimer there. And, self-directed IRAs. It's exactly what we do here at Quest. But what is a self-directed IRA? So really important to note that there is actually no legal distinction between the IRAs that we hold at Quest and any IRA that you have at any other custodian. only difference is the type of assets that your custodian allows you to invest in. So where most custodians like Fidelity, Charles Schwab, E-Trade, you name it, most of those custodians out there only allow you to hold publicly traded assets in your IRA. Now, at Quest, we are the exact opposite. We specifically specialize in our clients holding privately held assets in their IRAs. So, assets such as real estate, notes, private placements. I have a whole slide about those here in a second. But that's what our clients choose to invest in. Most of our clients have IRAs at both types of companies. So, if you have your IRA or maybe your 401k at a more traditional custodian, you could always move maybe part of that account over to Quest and then use that to self direct, see how it goes, maybe move some more funds over in a couple of months when you're ready to do your next deal. It's totally up to you how you choose to move your funds around and where you choose to have your funds invested. Now, coming from the angle of someone looking to raise private capital for your deals, it is so important to have a good basic understanding of not only how self-directed IRAs work and like the investment processes, some things that we are going to go through today, but it's also really important to have an understanding of kind of the underlying issue here. Most Americans only have their funds invested into publicly traded assets, things like stocks, CDs, mutual funds. For a lot of Americans out there, those investments at the rate that they are growing is not enough to get them where they need to be by the time they hit retirement. If you have your own IRA out there, you're probably feeling the same thing. Most Americans out there are not on par where they should be in order to have enough to save for retirement. So as you're going out there and if you are looking to raise private capital for your deals, that is a huge like underlying need, a huge why of people why they might choose to move their funds over into a self-directed IRA because it really gives you that true diversification. It gives you more control over where your funds are invested, and it allows you to invest into the things that you know best. So, as a real estate investor, most of you guys here, we specialize in real estate. I'm not an expert in the stock market. So, why not utilize this IRA or 401k money that you have to invest into the things that you are knowledgeable about? And, guys, give me just 1 second. All right, perfect. The joys of giving presentations from home, right? Gotta keep the dogs in check. But, anyways, back to today's presentation. As someone who's looking to raise private capital, or even as someone looking to invest your own IRA funds, it is also really important to have a good understanding of the types of accounts that can be self directed. We are going to kind of talk about the roles here in these scenarios when you are looking to raise private capital. But I would definitely encourage you guys go watch our basics class, our fundamentals self-directed IRAs 101. It is on our website and it is also on our YouTube page. Because as you are going out there and as you are having conversations with people, if they tell you, oh, I have a Roth IRA, I have a 401k, I left that job several years ago and I actually have a 401k that's just sitting, not really doing much. I always tell people you don't have to know everything that we know as IRA specialists, but you want to have at least a good basic understanding of the types of accounts that can be self-directed, kind of how they work, the time frames, things like that. That way you can really get access to as much capital as possible. We like to say our most educated clients are our best clients, and that really goes towards any investment that you're doing out there. So if you have more questions about the types of accounts, I would definitely encourage you guys to reach out to an IRA specialist. I can see the chat bubbles popping up right now. I am sure that is Sarah, today's moderator, putting some links for you guys, putting our contact information in there. I don't really have time to get into these a whole lot today, but just know that there are several different ways that you and your family can self-direct multiple different types of accounts. And most families out there don't just have one IRA. A lot of families out there, maybe the wife has a 401k, maybe the husband has a rollover IRA, maybe they're looking to start Roth IRAs and max out those contributions for this year. All of these accounts that you see here on the screen can actually be partnered together. So, based on how your deal is structured, if you're talking to someone and they're like, I really don't have much in my IRA, it's only $5,000, just kind of train yourself to start asking some questions. Hey, have you talked to an IRA specialist at Quest? Do you have a Roth IRA? Did you know that you actually have some more options out there? Then connect them with us and we can kind of give them the whole spiel from there. But when you're self directing your IRA, you do have many different investment options. We break the investments down at Quest into three different categories: real estate, private entities, and promissory notes. Now, as far as raising private capital, this is really going to focus in on either our private entities department or promissory notes. Now, the difference between these two here is really just how the deal is structured. A lot of these multifamily syndications, a lot of these large commercial deals, where they are actually structured as there's a deal sponsor or a syndicator, and they're the ones actually managing the LLC, managing the private entity. And then they might have anywhere from like 10, 20, however many different IRA investors that fund into that deal completely passively. So we see a lot of people that like to do these deals, especially here in Texas, multifamily is huge, and in other parts of the country as well. So, if you are syndicating deals, if you're looking to raise private capital, the private entities department is really going to be your go-to. Once those accounts are open, once they're ready to fund into the deals, we see a lot of those private entity investments. And then we have promissory notes. So kind of, structured a little bit differently there, where promissory notes, we see a lot of people that like to use their IRAs to be private lenders. So, whenever we're talking about raising private capital, that could be either are you syndicating a deal? Are you forming an LLC that multiple people are investing into? Or are you maybe just doing it on a more kind of one on one relationship basis? Maybe you are flipping single family properties and you just need funding for those deals. And maybe you're tired of paying those fees from a hard money lender. No hate against hard money lenders. My parents are hard money lenders, but a lot of people do like to go with private capital because it's totally relationship based. So promissory notes is actually about almost half of the transactions that we fund every month at Quest. So a lot of people like to use their IRAs to be completely passive, either private lenders or invest passively into those larger syndication type deals. So these are just some of the many options that our clients have. It's really important to note here that we can't tell our clients what to invest in. As an IRA custodian, we do have to stay very neutral throughout the process. So, if you're going out there and you're forming these relationships, you're looking to raise capital, Quest can certainly come in, do the consultation, educate both you and your potential investors about how the process works, how the money moves around, things like that. But ultimately, it's up to that IRA holder to choose if they want to do the deal with you. So, it really is totally relationship based. But if you are looking to raise funds from other people's IRAs, based on how you're looking to structure these deals, you want to make sure that you are doing the right due diligence on your end as someone who is investing with other people's retirement accounts that they've been saving for probably most of their lives. Definitely don't take that lightly. So you want to make sure that things are structured properly and that you have really sat down and figured out, hey, how do I want to structure this deal? How are people going to get paid out? Who are my attorneys and all of that fun stuff. So I've kind of already covered a little bit of this, but why raise private capital from IRAs? Now, as a real estate investor, there's a lot of ways that you can get your funding out there. You can either get a traditional bank loan. Sometimes that doesn't always work, especially if you are self employed and you maybe don't have that regular W 2 income. Or you can go to a hard money lender. Now, hard money lenders are great, especially if you are starting out, because a hard money lender is always going to look at the comps, the deal, the rehab budgets, things like that. And a hard money lender is not going to loan on a bad deal that does not make sense. The numbers just may not make sense there. So if you're new and you're starting out, always take your deals to a hard money lender. That way, you can have just a little bit of a baseline there for, hey, is this a good deal or not? Do the numbers actually make sense? And you have a second set of eyes to go over that. Now, alternatively, raising private capital from private investors is a really popular option. One, because it's totally relationship based. You go out there, you meet other people. Obviously, these days, maybe do it a little bit virtually or at least do it safely. But, if I have $100,000 sitting in my bank account and Sarah needs $100,000 for a property that she's rehabbing, we can, on our own terms, go get that promissory note drafted up. I can loan her those funds. And then she just pays me back my principal and interest, whatever we agree upon. And since I did my due diligence and I'm structuring the deal correctly, if for any reason Sarah does not pay me back, I could foreclose and take that property as collateral. Now, where's the issue here though? Most Americans do not keep that $100,000 just sitting in their bank account. Most Americans out there hold a majority of their wealth in some sort of retirement account. And only like 3% of retirement funds in America are self directed. And it's not because people don't want to do it or they've decided it's a bad idea. It's because people don't know about it. Quest does a lot of webinars, a lot of education every single week. And, back before COVID, we did travel to events pretty much all over the country. And it's a really common, theme or feedback to get after we do our presentations. People are like, wow, I had no idea you could do this. I wish I had known about this 5 or 10 years ago. And, if I've been maxing out my 401k every single year, I've been getting my employer matching, but my 401k is only earning 4 to maybe 6% a year. That is not enough to get me to where I need to be by the time I need to retire, even if I'm maxing out that account every single year. And that's if I've been maxing it out. There's a lot of people out there that may have lost a job or maybe never got started, or maybe you're in the boat where you're thinking, well, I haven't started an IRA. The contribution limits are so small. There's no way I can grow this small amount from those small contributions. And first of all, if you're in that boat, I want to tell you that you're wrong. Give us a call, max out those contributions. You can still do it for 2020 and 21 right now. That's totally off subject, but I do like to throw that in there because we are approaching that deadline to really max out last year's contributions as well. But, anyways, most Americans hold the majority of their wealth in a retirement account, in some sort of 401k, maybe in an IRA. And they think that if they want to invest that money into anything other than stocks and other than publicly traded securities, that the only way to do that is to take a distribution and be taxed and penalized on that. And that is not the case. They just don't know that they have this option out there. So if you are looking to raise private capital, have a good understanding of how this process works. Go back to our YouTube channel later and rewatch this class. Take note of some of the verbiage that I'm using. Because if you go out there and you have these conversations with people and you do it the right way from a genuine standpoint of, helping people out, it's really going to resonate with a lot of people. You're going to want to show your credibility. You're going to want to show that you are structuring things correctly and that you have a good track record. But this really will hit home with a lot of people because how they are currently saving for retirement is not enough to get them where they actually need to be. So, as you are raising private capital, what is it important to be aware of? You want to be aware of the basics, the types of accounts that can be self-directed. That slide that I actually passed over somewhat quickly in this presentation, but watch some of our other classes for that. Reach out to us. We can really, really go in depth there. But have a good understanding of the types of accounts that can be self-directed. This next one is a really important one here. We see this come up all the time. Is the 401k eligible to be rolled over? So we see a lot of people that come in, they're like, hey, I've got so-and-so, they want to invest into my deal. Can you set up a call with them? The first question we are always going to ask if someone has a 401k is that 401k from a current employer or is it from a previous employer? Because if someone is still employed where they have their 401k, whether it's a 401k, 403b, thrift savings plan, any of those retirement plans that are linked to their employer, more than likely, if they are still employed there, they are not eligible to move those funds just yet. Most times, in order to be eligible to roll over those funds, you have to no longer work at that company or have separation of service. Now, occasionally we do see that these 401ks are eligible to be rolled over while that person is still working there. The key word to ask here to the 401k plan provider is, do they allow for an in service rollover? As in, you are still in service at the company. Most times you are not eligible, unfortunately, but sometimes you are. We've seen it sometimes where if someone is maybe already at retirement age, but they are still working there, maybe if there's been a company buyout or a merger. I know a lot of airline pilots out there were actually eligible to roll over their 401ks, even though they were still employed there. Or sometimes it just depends on how the plan documents are written, but that's really important because that's always the first question that we ask. So if you are actively going out there looking to raise capital, it should be one of the first questions that you ask as well, um, because that'll determine if they can or cannot invest with you. Now, kind of just a side note here, the next question out of my mouth every time someone says, I'm still employed there, I'm actually not eligible to move it yet. The next question that I always ask is, oh, well, do you have a Roth IRA? Do you have any other IRAs outside of that? Because and again, getting a little off track here, but totally fine. I firmly believe that every American out there should have a Roth IRA. And you do even have the ability to convert funds from a 401k into a Roth IRA or from a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA as well. Now, as from the angle of someone who's looking to raise private capital, you can use any of these IRAs. We hold 7 different types of accounts at Quest. But if you have investors investing into your deal and you think that it's going to like really pay off greatly, you think it's going to really appreciate by the time that deal ends, maybe have your investors talk to us at Quest about the potential to do a Roth conversion either before that investment, once the funds moved over. It's totally up to you guys how you choose to do it, but it is something that's really helpful that could really help your investors earn completely tax-free growth versus tax-deferred growth. But just kind of a side note there. Another important thing to remember is the time frames. Now, my next slide, or one of my next slides, I actually have an overview of the process, and I will go a little bit more in depth into the time frames there. But if you need your deal funded by Friday and your investor does not have a Quest account set up on Monday, there's a really good chance that, just logistically, we are not going to be able to fund that deal in time because it does take some time to get the Quest account open, get the funds moved over. And then, our timeframes are always quick, but moving funds over from other custodians, totally out of our control how quickly or how slowly those funds can arrive at Quest. So if you have a deal coming up that that you are looking for funding for, if you are working with potential private investors who do not have their self-directed IRAs set up just yet, go ahead and get them connected with us. Let's get the ball rolling on that process. That way, the investor doesn't miss their opportunity for this deal because we're still waiting on the funds to arrive from the other custodian. Now, as you're raising private capital, it's also important to note the documentation that is required. Now, this could be interpreted a couple of different ways. It's important to know the documentation on your end. Work with an attorney to get things drafted up properly, but also know what needs to be submitted to us. These last 2 bullet points kind of go hand in hand together, but if you are someone who is, actively raising private capital from other people's IRAs, or you're working with a lot of IRA investors, it is going to make the entire process go much smoother if you have a good idea of exactly what your investors need to sign, what documents you need to get to us, how does the IRA need to be titled. These are all things that we can definitely help to walk you through, but as the person putting that deal together, as the person raising the capital, you do want to make sure that you kind of have your checklist. Is the IRA titled correctly? Have we used the right address? Have we used the right tax ID number? And has, my investor sign the documents in the right places? Because in order for Quest to sign off, we cannot sign off on anything until the client has signed off. It's self-directed. They authorize those investment documents for us to fund that deal with the IRA. So, as the person who's either borrowing the money or raising the capital from multiple other people's IRAs, just have a good idea of that. And if you don't, we do have a very nice overview of all of the investment types on our website. If you just go to questtrust.com, and if you hover over the investments tab, you can see all of our different types of investments come up there. It has, actually, we have new little videos on those pages from our transaction specialists. So some of the people that you guys probably work with, like Kathleen and Alexis, we've actually recorded little instructional videos that are on our website under those investment pages. So super helpful there. But, again, our job is to kind of help educate you on what needs to be submitted to us. So just give us a call, reach out to us, let us know what you're needing, what questions you have, and we will do everything in our power to make it a smooth and easy process on everyone. So those are some important things just to kind of be aware of. Now, again, you want to have a basic overview of the process. I have this on my next slide. I always love to get ahead of myself, but you know, you don't have to know everything that an IRA specialist knows. The roles in the scenario are you as the person raising money for the deal, you go out there, you network, you do, everything on your end, and then Quest is here to facilitate the investment, fund fund the investment documents, and really kind of educate you guys about the process to make sure you're not getting into a prohibited transaction or anything like that. So the first step is to get a Quest account opened up. This process takes about 24 to 48 hours. I actually do work very closely with our sales team. We have several IRA specialists over in that department that their main role is to help our new clients learn about how the whole process works, answer the questions one on one in a one on one consultation, and help with the account opening paperwork, help get the account funded, and really kind of help to package everything together. So once that new client has their account open and their account is funded, you know exactly what the next step of the process is as far as investing that money and kind of getting it ready for the pass off to our transactions team. So our IRA specialist will help people get their account established. They'll help to answer all the tough IRA questions and things like that. And then once the client is ready to go fund the deal, that's when you guys will work more directly with our transactions team. So to kind of break it down a little bit further, once the Quest account is opened up, this is when our IRA specialist will assist our clients in getting their accounts funded. A couple different ways to fund an account. You can open up a brand new IRA and start making contributions. Remember, you can still make those 2020 contributions up until April 15th, so you do still have some time. But if you are funding your IRA via a transfer from another IRA, or maybe a rollover from a 401k plan, those will be initiated just a little bit differently from each other. So our IRA specialist will always ask the client, how are you funding your account? Where are the funds coming from? We'll get a somewhat current statement from the account, because if the client is transferring funds from another IRA, we will initiate that transfer. But if the client is rolling funds over from a 401k, the client will actually need to initiate that rollover themselves through the 401k provider. Now, again, this step number 2 here, this is where the time frame becomes really important, because some custodians take 3 to 5 business days to send us the funds. Very quick. They can send it in a wire. Sometimes we can have it by the end of the week. However, a lot of custodians average take 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks to send those funds. And when the client is having their funds moved over to Quest, they will actually select a lot of times how they want the funds sent. So check, ACH, or wire. Now, I don't know what part of the country all of you attendees are in out there, but gosh, the mail has been very unpredictable lately. So, if you are on a tight time frame, I would definitely recommend have your investors or have yourself, if it's you opening up the account, select to have your funds sent electronically to Quest. So select to have them wired. It's trackable. It'll clear in about 24 hours. And you really don't have to play that waiting game of waiting 2 to 3 weeks for that check to come in through the mail. So that's important there. Now, once their account is open and it's funded, this is really where the client has to find their own investment. Quest does not have a list of clients that we can hand over to and say, okay, hey, here are the people that are looking to invest their IRAs. Feel free to reach out to them. We can't exactly do that. Now, we do have some networking opportunities I'll touch on here in my event slides here in a bit. But, once the account is open, once you've identified the investment or who you want to work with, at that point, I always tell people if you are funding your first investment with your IRA, give us a call. Let us know. Let us know what type of deal you're funding. We will at that point connect you with someone on our transactions team. And especially for the first time or two that you do it, you're probably going to have a lot of questions. That is totally fine. But it is so much better to be proactive and get on the phone, give us a call. That way we can walk you through it step by step. We can make sure that we get all of your questions answered. And once you submit those investment documents to us, we can fund that deal in 24 to 48 hours. So our time frame to turn things around once you send those investment documents to us is very quick. Where the time frame becomes important is if the account is not established yet. So that's where you really just want to add a little bit of a buffer in there. Give yourself extra time. And our lovely transfers team, they actually do have a report in our system of every custodian that we have ever transferred in funds from. A lot of them have estimated timeframes on there. Not everyone has a time frame on there, but if you have questions about the time frame of, hey, I'm moving my funds from Charles Schwab, about what do you know about what time frame they might be? We might have that in our system. So we're always happy to help answer those questions. So again, I got a little bit of ahead of myself, but we kind of talked about, the process, the timeframes, things like that. Now here's a general overview, and I'll kind of go into each of these bullet points individually of A to Z. How do you do it? How do you raise the private capital? First and foremost, build a network. If you have not heard me stress enough that you've got to find your own investments, we cannot put you together with people directly. This is so important. Quest has a lot of opportunities for you to build a network, but we are definitely not the only ones out there. Go join a mastermind. Go, see who some of the speakers we've had at our events. Most of our guest speakers that we bring in, again, we can't like endorse or recommend anyone, but a lot of them do have their own education. And that's kind of why we like to collaborate on education together. But go out there, build a network, especially in today's day and age. Things got kind of crazy last year. I know a lot of us are really used to going to RIAs every week, going to those mixers, the big jet lending event here in Houston. I missed that one. Shout out to them. But there are still a lot of ways to do it virtually. Facebook, LinkedIn, Quest has a virtual networking happy hour that I personally host myself twice a month. But start conversations with people. Don't rush into a deal, but kind of identify some, questions that you like to ask people. Oh, how long have you been investing? What types of investments do you like to do? Where are you looking to go in the new year? Kind of find people that you can align with and resonate with, and just keep those conversations going, because as you continue to build your network, you will not only meet other people that have deals, but you'll also meet people that have money. And you will meet a lot of people that have money just sitting in an IRA that had no idea that they could do this. And, it sounds like a great option. They would maybe love to learn more. And at that point, connect them with Quest. So go out there, build a network, build the conversations with people, and know how to introduce the conversation. Again, subtle, not so subtle plug. Go back to our YouTube page after this webinar, rewatch the class, and just kind of take note of some of these things. And, reach out to us if you have questions about how to introduce this conversation. We can definitely help to fill in the gaps. But again, you don't have to know everything that we know. Know when to introduce that person to an IRA specialist. This is helpful for a few reasons. One, because I don't expect you to be able to recite everything that I've learned over the past 5 years, just from watching a few of our classes. Our internal training at Quest is very extensive. You guys may or may not know about it. We have a new hire training program. We have an IRA specialist training program. We actually have a manager internal training program that we cycle through a couple of times a year. So We are the experts in our field. You go out, start the conversations, do what you need to do, and then know when to refer them to us. Now, another reason why this is really beneficial, because if you're talking to someone that has never heard of a self directed IRA before, and you're trying to educate them maybe just about their options that they have to invest outside of stocks and CDs, maybe that happens to be a deal that you have coming up. If they have never heard of a self directed IRA before, they might think that you're a fraud. They might think that you are lying to them. This is illegal. You cannot do this. And Quest is always coming into the conversation from a 100% neutral standpoint. We will go through the consultation, we'll answer any questions that they have. And, ultimately, if they decide that they want to do the deal with you, great. We will help to get the account open, we'll help to get the funds moved over, we'll help to kind of facilitate and educate throughout the process. But, if they decide not to do the deal with you, just go out there and keep having conversations with more people, keep bringing it up. And kind of side note here, this is where you do want to make sure that you are abiding by legal rules when it comes to SEC, raising funds, advertising, things like that. That is not my expertise. Please consult your attorney, but that is something to also be aware of as well. Now, show credibility, have references, have a deal book, have your spreadsheets broken down, the profits and losses, whatever, terms of due diligence you have prepared to share with your potential investors. You want to make sure that you have that organized, you have it together, you have your references, because, people want to work with people that they like and people that they trust. Always trust, but always verify. So be able to show your credibility and, always put your investors first. Your reputation and ethics is everything. Please use professionals to structure your deals. As someone who might be passively investing into someone else's deal or maybe loaning out funds, make sure that you have the proper legal counsel from your side as well. It is so much better to make sure that that is taken care of at the beginning and not having to worry about it when something goes wrong. That's not the time to hope that or wish that you had done it in the first place. So, make sure that things are structured properly. Remember, you are dealing with people's retirement accounts. A lot of times this might be their life savings. They're putting a lot in with you. And something that Anne Marie, actually, our sales officer, she teaches a really great class specifically over private money lending. So where this class is more so kind of general how to raise private capital, Anne Marie actually teaches a class specifically over private lending, borrower do's and don'ts. So it goes into that in a lot more detail. But one thing that she said in that class that I really liked was assess your investor's risk tolerance. You might have a deal coming up that might pay off. It's a little bit more risky. That's maybe not the deal to do with, an 80-year-old lady's retirement account that you're using all of her funds for that deal. If you've got a young investor like me, maybe, hey, I've got a small Roth IRA, I'm growing it. I'm down to kind of throw it into investments and see how it goes. Not saying that I am, but just as an example, maybe take that into consideration for the more risky deals or maybe the more safer, like safe return, fixed return type of deals. That's definitely something to keep in mind as well. But I would definitely recommend that you guys go check out that private money lending class from Anne Marie. Now, there's how to raise the private capital. Now, here's how to make the deals go smoothly. Because if your investors invest with you and it's a headache, every move that you guys do is like pulling teeth, they can't get a hold of you, that word will travel and people will not want to invest with you. One of your roles as the person that is borrowing funds or someone that's raising private capital is you do have a responsibility to make sure that your investors have a smooth process with you. Now, that is something that I really do think sets Quest apart, especially if you're in the boat where you are raising private capital for syndications. If you're just working with one IRA holder, one person that's investing with you, if something goes wrong, maybe if the custodian isn't quite responsive or the custodian can't fund the deal as quickly as 24 to 48 hours. Now, multiply that by 10 to 15 investors that are all passively investing with you. Some of them, this may be their first time doing it. as you have more and more investors that are investing into your deals, personally, I think it is so important to have a good relationship with your self directed IRA custodian because that can really make a huge kind of make or break difference in having a smooth process, a likable experience versus things just being headaches, slow, you can't get a hold of people, and you have 15 investors that you're trying to get funded into this deal by the end of the month. So, kind of to step off that side note there, that's how we can help your deals go smoothly here at Quest, but how you can make your deals go smoothly is understand the time frames. I've already touched on that. That is so important. Make sure that you are giving yourself and your investors enough time because the reality of it is if you are raising capital for a deal that needs to fund at the end of the month and you are just now talking to someone today, maybe that potential investor just had their consultation with the IRA specialist today. Ideally, if they get that account open, if they immediately initiate that transfer, there's a good chance we can get that deal funded for you guys on time. But most people like to think about it just a little bit. They have the consultation with an IRA specialist. They want to talk to their spouse. They maybe want to review the deal a little bit more. So you want to make sure that you are realistic about the timeframes and that you have a good understanding of how long it might actually take for that investor to be ready to open up their account and invest their funds. Now, it's not always the case. Some people like to get it moving, let's do the investment, but that is very important there. Know it needs to be submitted to the custodian. I have already touched on that. This is so important. Be proactive as you are working with your investors and our transaction specialist. We always like to make sure that everyone is in the loop. We get what we need. If we are missing something, we reach out as soon as feasibly possible to get that missing information. But there is only so much that can be done if people do not check their emails. Sometimes it happens. Maybe you submitted the documents to us and you go out of town for the weekend and you thought everything was good to go, but there is actually something missing. So that is so important. And as the person who's maybe raising capital for the deal, you want to make sure to kind of act as a good liaison between our transactions department and the people that are investing with you to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Keep the lines of communication open with your investors. This is so important. Please, don't go dark on them, especially in today's day and age with COVID, communication is everything. So keep the lines of communication open. I didn't put this in here, but, make your payments on time. You can do them electronically, communicate with your investors. And one thing that as the person who is raising capital for the deal or borrowing money from other people's IRAs is make sure to send those funds back to us. The funds do not go to the client. Those funds get directly sent back to Quest. You can wire them in, you can send an ACH. We even have an online ACH portal on our website, makes it really easy, but make sure to keep those lines of communication open with your investors. Now, there are also yearly reporting requirements. This is something that is really important, especially for those of you out there who are raising capital and syndicating deals, is that every year there is something called a fair market valuation that our clients have to submit to us to update the fair market value of any assets that they hold in their IRA account. As a custodian, this is something that we actually have to report to the IRS. So it is mandatory that our clients send this to us each year. But along with that, they do need to send us some form of supporting documentation. So every year around November, December, we start sending out these notices for our clients to submit their fair market valuations. The deadline to get them submitted is January 15th. So we are kind of on the tail end of this year's fair market value season. Big shout out to our special services department there. They work very hard this time of year. But if you have multiple IRA investors in your deal, you can literally just send us a spreadsheet of the IRAs that are invested with you and their current fair market values as of December 31st. So it's really easy, but just be aware that that is a reporting requirement. So that way, once you get to the end of the year, you're not kind of blindsided by it. And again, last but not least is integrity on this slide. Now, one thing that I did not put in here, I kind of thought about it after I made my slides, but this is very important, and it is a little thing called UBIT, or unrelated business income tax. If you are raising private capital for a syndication, you have IRA investors invested into your LLC or something like that. We see the structure a lot with multifamily deals. Someone will be the syndicator, they'll be the manager of the LLC. The IRA investors will fund into the LLC, and then the LLC uses a loan to purchase an apartment complex. They debt leverage it. Now, when the K1s from this deal start to show a profit of over $1,000, the IRA investors, depending on how the deal is structured, will likely incur UBIT at that point, or unrelated business income tax. And this is a tax that actually the IRA has to pay because the investment is debt leveraged. Now, I've actually done several educational pieces over UBIT. It's one of my not favorite subjects, but when I lived up in Dallas, I ended up working a lot of the multifamily investor events, and UBIT and solo 401ks were always the hot topic of conversation at those events. So inadvertently, I became our in-house UBIT nerd. But I think it's really important. It's something to be aware of. It's definitely not something to be afraid of. But we do have a YouTube video on our YouTube over UBIT. I actually did it with a CPA here in Houston. His name is Adam Barr. He is very knowledgeable. He's got that CPA lingo down, but we do have that available on our YouTube as well. So that's pretty much the class. I do have some really awesome webinars and education that I'd like to kind of switch gears and touch on at this point. You know, me being our business development marketing department, along with our other marketing reps that we have, we work really hard to put on all of these webinars for our clients. You know, we can't connect you with investments. We can't tell you what to invest in. We can't tell you how to structure your deal. So we provide as many educational opportunities as possible to help you not only meet other investors, but also learn how to do different types of investment strategies as well. So we have a lot of resources. Check out our YouTube. I have plugged that several times throughout this presentation, but all of our webinars, all of our classes, all of our pre-recorded videos that we film every single week, those are all on our YouTube channel. And if you ever miss a class, or if you're looking for a specific class and you can't find it, just reach out to us, give us a call, or go to our website. You can chat live with an IRA specialist directly through our website, and we can send you the link for any classes that you might be looking for. Now, we also have other articles, blog posts, things like that. But here in the bottom right corner, this is what I really want to focus on for right now. And this is our virtual networking happy hour. It is the first and third Wednesday of every single month. So it is actually this Wednesday, tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. If you are looking for somewhere to invest your IRA funds, if you're looking to meet other investors, if you're looking for deals, looking for people that you can maybe even mentor and learn from, these virtual networking happy hours have been awesome. They are completely online through Zoom. And unlike this meeting where I cannot see any of you guys, you can't talk to me, the happy hour is set up as a Zoom meeting. So everyone gets a chance to share their cameras. We go down the list, everyone gets a chance to introduce themselves. And it's really been attracting a lot of high quality investors from across the US. And a lot of the people on the happy hour have joined for multiple events now. So it's really kind of created this little community, whether you're like super experienced, whether you're brand new, whether you're looking to open an account, or you just opened up your account. This is a really great way to meet other investors and start that conversation. So tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m., join me for the happy hour. I host it every single time. I have a lot of fun with it. And we all have a beer or a glass of wine together. So it's a great event there. Now, and bear with me all, we have a lot of stuff going on right now, but trust me, it is all worth your attention. We are bringing back QuestCon Live, and this will be the QuestCon Live Private Lending Edition. So tickets are in pre-sale now. They are on Eventbrite, so you can get to it from our website under all of our events. It'll take you to the Eventbrite page. We are in pre-sales right now up until March 15th. So right now, access to the live virtual event is $50. And if you would like the live event and a copy of the recording, it is $69. So slight upcharge there. It's a little bit of savings since we are in early bird right now. But almost all of the education that we provide at Quest is almost always free. But we do put on a couple of larger scale events each year. before COVID, we had our big Quest Expo in Dallas, and then we hosted it in Houston, and then 2020 hit. So hopefully we'll be able to bring it back next year. But to kind of make up for that, we have a brand new online self-directed IRA conference. It's 2 days, it's a Friday, Saturday. This will actually be our third edition of QuestCon that we've hosted. And the feedback that we've gotten from our attendees has just been awesome. So you can get your tickets. They are in pre-sale right now. We will have just over 20 different guest speakers, some of the larger names that we like to work with, like John Heyer, Jeff Watson, a couple of other people there. Be sure to get those tickets. Or if you are interested in opening up an account, we did actually decide to extend our QuestCon Live bundle promotion that we did over the weekend. We got some good feedback from this, and so I got permission to limitedly extend it for this week's events. We can do it for the first 5 people that email us. If you are interested in opening up an IRA, if you're interested in setting up a consultation with one of our IRA specialists, when you open up your account, we will actually give you this little bundle deal. So we'll give you a free ticket to QuestCon, and we will also give you a free copy of the recording of the event as well. So you get the ticket and the recording for no charge. And we will also give you a copy of our new case studies ebook that actually Sarah, who's here moderating with us today, she actually writes all of our articles, all of our blog posts, all of our ebooks. So big shout out to Sarah. She does a lot of that stuff for us there. But I can only do it for the first 5 people if you email IRA Specialist right now, QCL bundle. I do have our sales team kind of on standby. I let them know to keep an eye out for these emails. But remember, you can still open up an IRA and max out those 2020 contributions up until April 15th. So my piece of advice for you guys would be, do not wait until April 14th to decide you want to get it open. We can do it. It's definitely possible, but so many people wait until the last minute. We literally, tax filing deadline week, as soon as we hang up the phone, it rings again. It's a really crazy time for us. So if you want to take advantage of this bundle, send us an email, QCL bundle, to iraspecialist@questtrust.com. You will still have the account opening fee. We really don't waive those anymore, but you'll get the free QuestCon ticket and you'll get the free ebook as well. And not only that, but when you do pay that account opening fee, it's $100, one-time account opening fee to open up the account. We have brought back Quest Cares this year. So the entire month of February, we will be donating 25% of all of our account opening fees, any new accounts that get opened, to a couple of different charities. So we're kind of narrowing it down right now. We've sent out some polls to our clients. So we're actually letting you guys choose which charities we will be donating to this year. You can find more information about that on our website, but hey, that account opening fee, at least it's going to a good cause, and we will be donating those at the end of the month. So be sure to reach out to us. QCL bundle, got that limited extension there. And other than that, it is super easy to get a hold of us. We have a live chat feature through our website. You can give us a call, or you can send us an email at iraspecialist@questtrust.com. I did also put my own personal email here. If any of you guys out there watching, if you host your own RIA or real estate meetup, or if you have a group of agents that's looking for more self-directed IRA education, I would love to come out and do a presentation for you guys. I miss traveling around a lot, but I love connecting with people from across the US. I love to educate about IRAs, maximizing, private lending, you name it. I probably have taught a class about it. So reach out to me if you would like to connect in that way. But otherwise, be sure to send the email to our department email, iraspecialist@questtrust.com. You will get a very fast response. And that is all that I have. I have seen the chat been pretty active throughout the presentation. Do we have any questions? Sarah, I see a lot of chats here. So have we gotten any questions?
We sure have, and I've been trying to keep them kind of located here so we can get them all organized. Let's see. So I did notice one question, and it was about checkbook control and how that works with the self-directed IRA. Would you like to talk on that a little bit?
No, but I'll do it anyways. So checkbook control is actually not something that we offer at Quest. So a lot of you out there, if you've heard of self-directing IRAs, you've probably heard of a checkbook control LLC or checkbook control IRA. Now, these setups are problematic. There are a lot of companies out there that will sell you, a couple $1,000s, set you up an LLC, have your IRA fund into it. But there's really a big issue here with you as the IRA account holder and as a disqualified person to your IRA, providing a service for your IRA. So basically, the ways that these checkbook control IRAs are structured is you form an LLC that you are the managing member of, that your IRA then funds into. So we choose not to hold these types of accounts at Quest. The kind of really well-known IRA attorneys like John Hire, Jeff Watson, they really don't like these types of accounts either. We do have a lot of literature out there, but just know that they do come with dangers. They can be problematic. Everyone ultimately gets to make their own decision, but I would recommend whatever type of account you do choose to go with, make sure that you are working with a custodian or a company that is educated about the type of account. So that way we can kind of help to provide you some guidance. So we see a lot of people set up these checkbook control IRAs. They don't know exactly how to use them. They were not given proper guidance on them, and they end up getting themselves into a prohibited transaction. So just for those reasons, we choose not to structure them or not to hold them here at Quest. But yeah.
Perfect. Okay, our next question is, how often do you see a loan default, and how often do SDIRAs have to foreclose?
Ooh, so that's a good question. So, it happens. I don't really have a figure as far as how often, what percentage, how many have to foreclose. But some pieces of advice I do have here is make sure, and these are actually a lot of things that Anne Marie covers in her private lending class, is make sure you know the laws of the state that you are lending in, because some states are much more foreclosure friendly than others. Like if you loan in Texas and you need to foreclose, it can be done sometimes in under 30 days. Some states, it takes months and months, and especially in today's environment, you want to make sure you understand those laws and how investor friendly they are in the state that you are lending in. Also, just make sure you do your own due diligence. Do you want to own that property? Are you loaning, more than it's worth? Maybe you want to make sure you double check those numbers there. So don't have an exact figure there, but if you have more questions about that, give us a call or watch Anne Marie's class, and we have more resources for you there.
Okay, and our last question here is, and maybe you can speak on this, how do you make sure a client's accredited if that's a requirement for their fund? And just so you guys know, if you have any more questions for Haley, send them in now.
Yes. So sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Absolutely. How do you make sure a client is an accredited investor if that's required for my fund?
Yes. So remember, Quest does stay very neutral throughout the process. So typically, if you have a fund and you are having IRA investors invest into that fund, but the way it's structured, they have to be accredited. That would be up to you as the fund manager to ensure that you are checking with that, maybe have them fill out an investor questionnaire before they actually invest with you. Quest does not check if investors are accredited. That is really something for you guys to handle on your end. Good question, though. All right. Any other questions?
Looks like that is it.
Awesome. Well, guys, hopefully this was helpful. If it was, let me know in the chat really quick. I always love to hear the feedback, and I'm so used to the happy hours. I hate that I can't see y'all's faces right now, but hopefully this was helpful. If you guys have more questions, reach out to us, and remember to take advantage of that QCL bundle. Haven't checked my emails yet, but I'm sure we may still have a couple of spots in there, but send us an email. We are more than happy to help. And be sure to come to the happy hour tomorrow night, and be sure to check out our other events that we have going on this week as well. That's all I've got. Y'all have a great day.